Back at the end of 2020, I built one of the most craziest gaming PCs out there. It had an RTX 3090, a 10900K Intel CPU, and it was fully water cooled. I'm talking about GPU, CPU, the whole 9 yards. But up until a few weeks ago, I started having a lot of issues with that computer. First, and the most important thing, was my front panel connectors just stopped working. Can you believe that? It stopped working. And guys, I use my front panel connectors. Like, I'm a true believer of the front panel connectors. When you want to quickly install a few drives up in the front, or you don't want to have to fit all the way in the back and hook them up, you know, you kind of just count on them, right? So it started dying on me, and it wasn't just all at once. I had the front USB type A die on me first, then my USB type C. It was just a mess, and I could not figure out for the life of me what was going on. So I did what any other PC owner would do. I started diagnosing it, and I started breaking it down and trying to figure out where was this issue coming from. I checked out the motherboard, hooked up some different things to it, figured out, okay, the motherboard is not the issue. So then it led me on to the culprit, the actual culprit. Yes, the case. The chassis had given out on me as far as the front panel connectors go. And this really bummed me out because I had just built the computer and it's only been 3 months. So I did what any responsible PC owner would do. Let me show you guys. That's a big boy right here. I went and got the same case. Yes, I went ahead and got the Lian Li O11 Dynamic XIII again. I just love this case, and plus on top of that, there is nothing really in the market right now that really excited me, and this is it. This was the case that I decided to go for again, and I really like it. It's a white chassis. It's got a front tempered glass panel. It's got a side tempered glass panel. It's huge and it's perfect for water cooling. So I thought, you know, why not go for the same thing that, you know, I love so much. So I went ahead and got the same case, but we are not just gonna be putting every component from my old one to this one. I am gonna do a few upgrades, and let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me show you guys. All right, so we are gonna go with an ASUS Z590 motherboard. This is the ASUS ROG Maximus 13 Extreme Glacial. Really excited. I've actually been following this board since the announcement of it, and you know, I'm really glad I was able to get my hands on it. So I'm excited to pair this motherboard up with this chassis, and on top of that, you know what we gotta do? We gotta throw an 11900K CPU. So one of these to pair with it. Now I know this hasn't been getting such a good rap, you know, lately. It just hasn't been getting a good look, and to be honest with you, it's fine. You know, I really intended to put 11900K in here, and I'm hoping we can overclock this CPU and get some good results. You know, it really depends on the silicone, so we'll see how far I can push this thing. But yeah, guys, this is gonna be what we're gonna be doing. So in the next few days, we're gonna be going ahead and transferring all the components from that computer to this computer, and doing a few upgrades. Oh, and also I'll be throwing in a front distro plate for this case. Right now, currently in my current system, I have a side distro plate. It's nice, really good. I think it looks really good, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, let's do things a little bit different. So we're gonna go ahead and put a front panel distro plate on here. This is gonna be the one made by EK specifically for the O11 Dynamic XL. So I'm really excited to put that in, and we'll see how it goes. But let's just stop chatting and let's get to work. I'm gonna go ahead and start unassembling everything and putting everything into the new chassis. So let's go. done. This whole thing is unassembled, and let me tell you guys, you never think about the amount of work you put into a computer until you unassemble everything. This thing took me close to almost 2 hours, 3 hours, but you guys had this whole thing on time lapse, so for you guys it went by quick. But it was a pretty hard job, guys. I had to take all the cables out. I had to cut all the zip ties. Motherboard really wasn't that hard to take out. Graphics cards weren't hard. Radiator, all that stuff, that was pretty easy. I think most of the majority of the time that I was spending on this unassembly was gonna be the cable management and the draining of the liquid. Nonetheless, we're finished, and yeah, just it's a shame that this case had to die on me like this, because I was content and I was happy, and I really didn't want to go through this. But I mean, it is what it is, and I had to just take it apart and yeah, just put everything now in a new computer. But the good thing is we'll be upgrading some parts. Like I mentioned, we'll be putting in ASUS ROG Maximus 13 Extreme Glacial, and we'll also be putting a front distro plate as well, as opposed to one on the side, and a new CPU. So I'm excited to start that process and get that going. I like this case, and I'm glad I went ahead and I chose the same case, but let's see what happens. But let's get it going and let's start the new build. Come on. right guys, so she is set and done and she is looking amazing. I'm actually really glad on how this PC turned out, especially adding this front distro plate. I think brings a whole different character into this PC. On my previous chassis, I hooked up a side distro plate, which looked awesome, don't get me wrong, but I think this is a whole nother level. I just think it just adds to the whole artistic side of this PC, and I'm digging it. Now this project did take me 2 days extra just to finish, just because I'd run out of borosilicate glass. That is the tubing I'm using for the runs in this water-cooled PC. But I was able to order them, got it delivered within a day, and everything was great. I was able to cut it that same day, size the tubing up, connect them, tie them. Everything went smooth. Now I did run into 2 snags. The first snag being that the top addressable RGB header was not working, and I found this out by turning on the PC and none of the lights were just going on at all, and that kind of scared me because I thought, gosh, like, is the motherboard bricked or is something wrong with all the ports? And second, I was just thinking, dude, I just like hooked up all these fittings, all these tubes, filled up the system, and I don't want to take anything out, I don't want to drain it. So actually my girlfriend, she has smaller hands than me, she was able to actually unplug the top ARGB cord and I was able to route it to the side. Luckily this motherboard has 4 addressable RGB headers, which I think is awesome. So I was able just to hook it up to the side one and everything was working great. The second being that since these tubes, since the monoblock, the inlet and outlet are on the top to bottom, they kind of didn't really match with this distro plate. Yes, this distro plate has top and bottom, but just the way this is further out, the ports are further out and it's a little bit lower than where the monoblock is. I had to add a few 90-degree rotaries and do 90-degree extenders, but it all worked out great. I really like the PC. I think it adds a whole different character to it, and the transition from going from one chassis to another was excellent. Didn't really have an issue other than that addressable RGB header and waiting for the tubes. But really glad, it was another learning experience for me. I'm really happy the way things turned out. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Would you guys done it different? Maybe different hardware, but I'm curious to know. Appreciate it for checking this video out and sticking by me with this project. And until next time guys, catch you on the next one.